breaker structure, right? Sweeping the Asian low. This here is the bread and butter of a POI, right? What I look for a POI is the following things, right? Breaker structure and fair value gap. And so my POI is going to be something like this, right? This is my POI, and I'm going to make this very clear for people why this is essentially a POI. POI is a point of interest, an order block, a demand area, whatever you want to call it. And so the reason this is a POI, and I want traders to understand how I do this, right? We have a fair value gap, right? Technically, this is going to be the fair value gap in blue. The reason this is a fair value gap is we can see this particular candle. So the fair value gap starts here and it ends over here in line with this candle. So this is the fair value gap, and therefore this is the POI. To give us some more context or confirmation to validate this POI, we see a large amount of liquidity over here. Right, so this gives us indication. This is inducement. So inducement, simply for those who don't know that, inducement is very simply liquidity drop before a POI. So when price comes into a POI, we're looking for price to tap into the POI before potentially reversing that trend and heading higher. And we're going to be going through exactly what happens in this region, right? When price sweeps liquidity before tapping into a fair value gap, it is added confluence as to when price is going to reverse. Okay. So let's just take this over to the right and see what we have, right? So price taps into this POI coming into the next week. And so a quick tip on this, right, is if I just replay price, what we're looking for, right, is I often have my POIs marked out that are unmitigated, right? This is an unmitigated POI from the previous week, Thursday, Friday, and then the following Monday, Tuesday, we hit into this POI. And this is where we're going to be going through a trend reversal. All right, this is where we're going to go through a trend exhaustion. So now, when it comes to the power of three, it's very simple, right? Using the weekly power of three is generally quite simple. So how does a weekly candle form, and how does any candle form, right? So what we can see over here, this kind of dashed line, you can see this is the weekly opening price. I'm just going to mark that in so people can see. This here is the weekly opening price. And so you want to ask yourself one question. If the market is below the weekly opening price, should you be buying or should you be selling? This is a question which I ask myself, and I want all the students, I want everyone to think about this. Should you be buying or selling below the weekly candle's opening price, right? So the answer is you should be selling. And this is basically how a candle forms, right? So if we